All right. Uh, Thanks for everybody tuning in this time. We are going to be starting this podcast on November the 27th, getting ever closer to those holidays. Had some Thanksgiving, although I have a friend in Canada who's in my one campaign. He says their Thanksgiving was in October, so I don't know what happened in Canada in October, but good for them. So I'm Gordo as always, and I'm joined here with Corn. His Discord name is Corin. How do you say the last one? Gagan?
It's Corin Goggin.
Goggin.
You know,
Gagin. I'm sorry. I don't know how to read English most of the time. I think I'm illiterate, but we'll get through it.
everybody makes that mistake.
So today we're gonna be touching on a few things. Real quick, if Corin, if you want to, say hi and tell us, a bit of your experience as a GM and a player, and what's the type of games you normally play.
Well, hi everyone. I'm Corin Goggin, and my experience goes back to the early 2000s, late 90s when BattleTech, was still a thing and existing before the Wizards of the West Coast got a hold of it and ruined it completely. uh, my my greatest one game experience is a BattleTech Mercenaries campaign. Lasted about 6-7 years,
Right,
and all the players.
you're reaching far
And
into the past with pulling out names like
oh yeah,
BattleTech.
oh. Hey, I'm an old guy. What can you expect? But it was one of those games where all the players were the GM as well, depending on session. But I've been in tabletop for Warhammer, both fantasy and 40K. Generally done a lot. The only game system I really haven't enjoyed was the Call of Cthulhu. I know some people probably just want to lynch me now for that.
Yeah, that's a hit or miss for some people. But I have seen a lot of campaigns use that system for modern games or even games set in like the 50s and stuff. Um, but yeah, it seems to be hit or miss for a lot of them. So
Oh,
do
definitely.
you find yourself primarily? Are you like primarily GMing or being a player as of late?
Well, I GM 2 games, and I am in two play by post games and one D&D game where I'm a player. So I'm kind of about almost even, give or
Oh,
take.
okay. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of times where that's not been the case. Do you
Oh
do you,
yeah,
you find yourself leaning towards one as opposed to the other, or?
really depends what I'm in the mood for. Because like I like to be grandiose in the play style. So if I'm in the mood to run like one of my games right now, I'm GMing a colony building simulation kind of thing going on.
Oh, okay. So like you're
And
kind of like that. What was it? Frostpunk or crap. What are all those city builder games called? There's City
SimCity.
Skylines and SimCity and all that. So you've got like one of those kind of going on.
Yeah. And my other game is a only war game where they're just the players don't really know much of what's going on around them. They're just there killing orcs left and right.
That's that's pretty classic when you go for the guardsmen. It's like there's some orcs there, just just murder the non-human things. Can't get much more classic than that, and unless you just go with heretics, I think that's a little bit more old school than anything. Well,
No, orcs are the most. They're the original enemy.
I'm trying to think like back to like the tabletop days, like with back when they were. Oh crap! I can't even remember. The company was called like Rogue Trader or something like that, or something. They before they were Games Workshop, they were called something else. I can't remember offhand. That was when they were doing like the first edition, second edition, and stuff like that. And I think the original enemies were just Space Marines. I think they had orcs. I'm trying to remember because I want to say that Chaos came like later.
Hmm. Um,
I know they had some
Fantasy.
Eldar or
Well,
something.
Warhammer Fantasy was first. And then
Yeah. I'm just talking about the straight 40K. I want to say they had orcs first because I'm pretty sure they had orcs for fantasy. Because and that, oh my god, that was back when they were like some of the models were made out of lead and they're they were heavy as hell. I have one of the classic dreadnoughts, and the thing was half the height of a resin dreadnought, but
oh
five
god,
times the weight. It was so heavy. And some guy gave it to me for free, and I'm like, I'll take it. And somebody liked how it looked, and they ended up buying it from me for like $100. And I was like, I kind of felt bad because I got it for free, but I was like, I'm not gonna say no to $100.
I don't
Uh,
think anybody would, especially in this little hobby where what an army's going
oh
to cost about a few $100s.
yeah, it's hard to make money reselling models. Some people can do it, um, where you just they paint them and they make them look beautiful. Mine look like they were melted with a lighter on occasion, but you know, uh, I did my
Think of-
12 years of playing the tabletop, I got decent at painting that shit. Decent, not good. I won't say good. I won't say great. But decent. There was a few, but yeah, I played Space Marines for like 10 years. I played Orcs for about like 3 or 4. And the only time I ever made money was on my Orcs. I don't know how I managed to do it. I ended up buying a shit ton of Orcs for $700. I added a starter kit onto them that had like death dreads and stuff, and then I ended up flipping them and selling them for like 1,500. So
wow.
yeah, the guy who sold them to me, he was like, yeah, I had an old roommate. He left them all to me, and he's like, I'm not a big fan of the game, and he was like, I just want to let them go. And I even told him, I'm like, hey, I called him because I was gonna have to drive like 2 hours to go get them, but
Hmm.
I ended up making it into a trip to go visit family anyways. And I called him. I'm like, hey man, I know you're doing like $700. I was like, I'm gonna let you know, that's like $3,500 worth of stuff, right? And he's like, oh really? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, well, I appreciate that, man, but to be honest, I just want to get rid of them. I was like, so you'll do like $700? And he's like, to be honest, dude, if you just bring me $600 and a sandwich, I'll be happy with that too. And I was like, I was like, I fucking care. All right.
Hey, you got
Uh,
$100 to spend on that sandwich, man.
yeah,
You know,
we ended up going there, and I was like, I said, I feel bad just grabbing you something from McDonald's. I was like, you want to grab lunch? And we ended up going to like an Olive Garden. It was like I met him in like Raleigh, North Carolina. So I was like, we went to like an Olive Garden, and my girl's like, she's like, why are we eating lunch with this stranger? I'm like, shut up, we're eating lunch with the dude. He's just it's, just shut. You don't
be
have to
quiet,
know why.
be quiet, heretic.
She's like, are you leaving me? Shush, maybe. It's just stay there. It's one of those things, man. It's like I'll
Yeah,
like a $50 Olive Garden dinner, save $100. Like I'll do it. But
technically
yeah,
saved $50.
yeah, it was
Be
funny.
quiet, woman. I'm saving money. I'm being thrifty. Be happy.
Yeah, it was like it's like I'm here for models. I got so we got a couple people in the chat. So Radic the Insane, he was wishing us, hoping that we had a great Thanksgivings. What about you, Corn? Do you have a good Thanksgiving?
Oh, I'm not much of a holiday person, but I did enjoy myself a bit.
Hey man, I'm down for anything that involves eating a not normal amount of food. So
I
I
did have
also
the itis. I
yeah, I
had the itis.
also
Yes.
yeah, you end up passing out because of too much food. I also like deviled eggs, and for some reason I can
Oh
only
God,
get
yes.
them around the holidays. For some reason, I don't know why.
That's really
Eggnog
the
and
only time
deviled
anybody
eggs.
will. God, I wish eggnog was sold all year long. I
Yeah,
think.
I just like I don't understand it. I don't understand why eggnog is seasonal and deviled eggs have to be seasonal. Yes, I could learn the recipe and make them myself, but I'm lazy. And that's not the point.
That is the point.
Yeah, but
Because then
stable
you could
drink.
make rum nog.
Yeah, rum. That's right. I'll just put vodka in everything. Vodka in the deviled eggs and the eggnog. Pour it on the ham. I don't care. It's a rum ham now. But Stable Gun was he's just making fun of us.
Wow.
Well, he's making fun of me, saying that I was coming for models and I ended up with a date. And hey, sometimes that's what it is.
You know how it goes, comrade. Sometimes you come for models, sometimes you come for bread.
Oh, yeah, Radek's asking about the gameplay. So right now I have playing in the background the Ultramarines game. Someone
Oh,
doing
nice.
a playthrough. Yeah, so that's not me. Uh, I can play it if you guys want me to, but it's just a pre-recorded person. Giving another YouTuber the views, why not? And I'll throw the link in the Twitch description and also on the YouTube thing. That's what I do with all of them. I've been playing a lot of like we had the Astartes going on loop for one of the podcasts, and we also had a lot of fan made stuff that was going. Also the Hell's Reach. I don't know what to call that art style. It's like an ink kind of hand sketch kind of stuff.
I don't know what to call it either. I've watched the Hell's Reach. It's got a good story.
Oh
The
yeah,
art style does kind of mess with me a little bit because it's just like you're kind of like I don't know what. Huh?
it's like simplistic and complicated at the same time. It's a little strange thing. But yeah, well, it's like cuz I think the first time I've watched an art style like that was Halo Legends. Remember if you ever saw that, the Arbiter story had that?
Oh God! I remember the first time I watched that. It was so hard to watch. Like just the visual context was just so hard to interpret with what was happening. You're like, oh, what?
Yeah, it's like it's definitely like touching into like it's for some people. It's definitely wasn't my favorite, but it's not enough to where I would say it shouldn't be in there because it's still good, still good
Oh yeah,
quality stuff.
it's a beautiful art style, and it's got an amazing story. The Arbiter one does the origin story of the Arbiter.
Yeah.
I did find that coming back to it, I have watched it repeatedly. More recent, it was a lot easier to watch than the first time,
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely an art style where if you like rewatch it, you'll be
and
you'll
you
have
will
a
start noticing things
better
that you didn't notice
experience.
before.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like you had that, and then they have that thing on Netflix. The what is it? It's like love butts and robots, or love sex robots and dominoes. I don't know. It's called something, but pretty sure y'all know what I'm talking about. Where they just have all those art styles, and it's like I always bring that stuff up because 40K on the Games Workshop YouTube channel, they had a trailer like oh it must if it hasn't been a year, it's been at least two of they had a trailer where they were going to be doing something like that where they had about 10 different art styles on there, and I think recently they released another trailer of the uh Blood Angels one that they were gonna do, but it was interesting. They had like little anime ones that were like cartoon ish, like Pokemon or Big Hero 6 and all that, and then they had the ones that are high quality like Astartes and all
Yeah,
that. So it's like hopefully that
it's a
kind of
good
sets it up.
idea, but the problem is that it's a great idea from a fan base, kind of ooh, all these different things we get to enjoy them and experience them.
Yeah.
But I think it's a bad idea on the part of GW to try and because like every art style requires more money in a different artist to who's proficient in that style. So let's say only 10 episodes. That means that you got to have 10 different groups of artists or 10 artists at minimum who know each art style.
Well, if they're smart, because GW has the money. If they're smart, they'd commission a company for each episode and be like, "Hey, make me a 30-minute thing." Like Netflix did. Netflix, I don't think had personally handled
Well,
every episode. I think they went to someone for each one and worked with them. Um,
sadly, we can't really put the words GW is smart into a full sentence without a lot of butts involved.
yeah, Radix just he said it took around 5 to 10 minutes to start making fun of GW. That took forever. Yeah, yeah. A lot of this podcast ends up devolving into talking crap
Oh,
about
that's
GW for a minute.
well. Trust me, you give me enough time, I'll start insulting most of the fan base too.
Yeah, it's the look. I've been playing and buying and selling my soul for most things from GW for close to 15 years. Like, I mean, to be honest, we're reaching a point where I'm reaching the point where I've been playing that stuff longer than I was old when I started playing it. You know, I was like 12, and now I'm 15. Or no, fuck. What am I talking about?
Oh
I
shit, you're
was
only
12.
15. Run!
I was 12, and I've been playing that stuff or buying it for like over 15 years now. So it's like I'm already past that point where it's like I've been playing it longer than I was alive when I didn't play it.
Well,
It's
it's
the
official
same.
internet. Gordo is an old fuck.
Yeah, I'm old as shit. I mean, I'm not. I don't know. I just started young. I'm gonna be 27 next year in
My
August.
god.
Yeah,
By internet years, that's your ancient.
yeah. Might as well be. I'm like a boomer. You know, corpse death eat or what? I don't know what kids say nowadays.
Okay, boomer. Yeah, okay, boomer. Good to go, boomer.
Exactly. But yeah, it's one of those things. GW just ends up being like, any other family member. It's like you can talk mad trash about them for hours and
Like, thank
hours.
you,
You can
Uncle
also give them praise.
GW. I know I give you tons of money every year, and you just basically bitch slap me all
Yeah.
the time. But I still love you.
Yeah, well, yeah, GW's that one uncle that you bump into every Christmas who always wants to borrow some money but never pays you back. And it's like he's nice. Uh
Oh, he ain't nice. He's
I
at least he's not the creepy uncle.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. I mean, as long as you just keep your eyes averted from anything Dark Eldar related. But yeah, it's yeah. I mean,
I
Games
do, even though for
Workshop's.
all the even though for all the shit talking,
Uh,
the GW of today is a lot better than what most people realize. The communication between the fan base and GW past 5 years ago was non-existent, really.
it's well,
So that's
it's
the funny thing.
well. The thing is, they've had a fan base. Like, I mean, it's been UK based. I mean, they've had a crap ton of UK fans, since the '80s when they were coming out with this stuff. But
Yeah, it's just that it took them roughly only about almost 2 decades to start actually communicating why they're doing things like the whole reason why the squats, to this day we'll never know the real reason why the squats, because we have contradictory um statements. We got one that says that by the creators of the squats that they didn't like it. The fact is that it turned into a meme. We got another one statement saying the squats weren't making money, even though what sales reports we have available from the 90s says that the squats were selling on the same level as all the other model lines.
I mean, it's strange. I mean, they the GW sometimes will just look like a rabid animal with doing death throws. It's like I don't know why it's doing that. And then sometimes it's like, all right, it makes sense, but I hate it. Like when the epic line, like they're bringing the Titanicus stuff back so you can play with little titans and stuff that are like $20 or $30 a piece, as opposed to a mortgage on a new home and $500 and all that
Which is
shit.
nice.
Yeah,
Which
it's
is
great,
nice.
but they got rid of them to begin with because they thought that the Epic line was gonna get rid of sales for the normal 40K stuff. And
God
it's
no,
like,
because the epic line is totally a different play style to the normal tabletop.
yeah, but that was around the time period. You're talking like 5 years later, they released the Apocalypse rule sets for the 40K tabletop.
Oh yeah.
So it's like you now have rule sets to be able to play with like a shit ton of models. And I
Yeah,
mean,
and to be honestly, I think they should have kept it separate, you know? Or
it's like I mean, it's like you said, it is different play styles and such, but it's more of it's like I can totally understand people leaning towards the epic line when it comes to time. I mean, you
Like
could.
me, I remember buying Epic stuff, Epic, models, right?
Yeah.
And because Titans were cheaper to buy off the Epic line, hey, can I use, like, between friends? Let's use the Epic line Titans instead of spending money we don't have without stealing our mother's car.
Yeah,
You know,
see? So then it's they're right. It was eaten into sales in different ways, shape, and form.
but when you have a group of teenagers,
Oh
late
yeah,
early two
yeah.
thousand,
I mean,
you know,
the 40K market's always been like
the thing is, I think it is good to have.
30-year-olds and up, really.
I do think it's good to have a cheaper Epic line because it is a way for those who have a smaller budget to get into the game. I think
Well,
that's good.
well, because like, all right. So speaking from the experience of me having like a 25,000 point or more Space Marine army, when
Well, I
it
feel
got
sorry for you.
when you get to that point, when you have more than 160 Space Marines, I'm not even talking vehicles, characters such as chaplains, librarians, and stuff. I had 160 tactical Marines holding bolters.
You, sir, have too much money.
I did. No, I did. That army got sold.
Correction. Yes. Correction. You used to have a lot of money. Now you don't.
Yeah, exactly. And there's two horrible moments in my life when my dog got hit by a truck, and then when I sold my Space Marine army. There's those two moments. I've that's it, and I feel like they're right on the same level. Um, so
The internet salutes you.
yeah, it's I mean it's what it is, man. But yeah, like when you have an army that size, and it's like it's one thing if you have like a shit ton of different units. It's like, oh, I got some Centurions, I have different kinds of dreadnoughts, I have all these veterans, or it's like I have an Imperial Fist army, I have an Iron Hands army, I have an Ultramarines army. I didn't. I had one chapter, one army, and it was like if I'm not playing like an apocalypse game, I ain't busting the models out. So it's like I would get together with we would do 2-on-2s or 2-on-1 or something like that for the tabletop, playing like 10,000 points aside, and we would play for about 7 or 8 hours. And it's like that's what I loved. I was like, I want to play one game, win or lose, I don't care, and then bounce. And we would do that, and it was a blast. But it's like with Epic, you can get to the same scale or even larger and do it faster because you got like 50 dudes on a single base and stuff like that. It's the same as like that World War II one, Flames of War. They're like 20, what are they? They're like 15 millimeter as opposed to 28.
Yeah, they're like 15 or something.
Yeah,
They're like one.
it's like the scales help with the like time narrative, essentially, like turns are quicker and such. And it's like I
Well,
love
yeah,
that.
when you're having to move only one, base with 50 guys on it instead of moving 50 bases, on one turn. Yeah, turns go by a lot faster, especially in the Epic line.
Oh yeah,
And
most certainly.
and because, like, the kind of like 10,000 point, like, to me and my friends, that was a Tuesday for us.
Yeah, it's like it's like I want them to drop prices and stuff, but you know,
I can understand having the normal line be more expensive because, these are single models that are usually overall better, high quality. You know,
yeah,
I think having a line that's poor quality, that's usually more quantitative, where you're just going for the numbers and you're not going for the individual model looks, and having it cheaper is good. I think it's good to have accessibility, both for those who want a nice model and ones who just want, well, I got my 50-man unit right here. Let's play Epic, boys and girls.
yeah. It is better. Which I'm surprised there wasn't an epic for fantasy, but you know,
Oh,
there.
yeah. Well, because fantasy was Epic basically.
Well,
Epic.
yeah, back when they had them on the trays and stuff. Now it's more like 40K, and nobody
I
nobody
miss
gets
the
to use
trays.
the block units anymore.
I missed using the trays. That was fun.
Yeah,
Having your Bretonian army just like of knights squashing the Empire peasant troops.
Well, people forget that like Games Workshop dabbled in quite a few different ones. They had crap. I want to say they called it historical battles. Like it was pretty straightforward, but they did like Vikings and Romans and stuff like that
Well,
for a time.
yeah, they did, and they cut it short after because
Yeah,
like
because one of the guys who did Hail Caesar for Warlord Games, he used to work for Games Workshop. He
a
was one of
lot of
the
people used to work for GW that are now in other things. That's
yeah
the funny thing.
yeah
Like a lot of the different like tabletop and fantasy stuff and that we all know and love today, a lot of them are former GW employees.
yeah. I mean that's how it happens. The same thing happens in like the video game industry. You know, shit ton of people who made Call of Duty Modern Warfare made Titanfall and went on and they all it just ends up spreading out. You
Well,
know, because it's
yeah.
like some people they're like it's like, oh, that game happened, or oh, that company went under, and it's like, yeah, those people go to other places, and that's how different crap ends up happening. Like with the Metro games and stuff like that, company goes under, people pick it up.
Well, only 27 minutes in and we still haven't hit any of our topics.
Nah, yeah, we're totally missing on the RPG topics. Let's see here. All right, we're talking about the RPG. Hey, man, it's just everything 40K. Just how it is. Yeah. So like, yeah, most of the stuff I wanted to touch on is like mostly just like how like you as a GM or how you think GM should handle pretty much like starting campaigns and like progressing through them. Like, how
Well,
do you handle like starting XP? Because I find a lot of GMs lately don't start with the vanilla by the book XP anymore. I see most of them
yeah.
either give a boost or have something specific.
Yeah, like my only war game, I wanted a Pacific kind of like a penal legionnaire kind of feel. So I limited their classes and I limited XP starting and what gear they can take. Um, to be honestly, I feel like the usually the vanilla base is kind of boring, and but it is the basis that the people who made the game, base everything on. So when the GM starts to like go away from what is recommended, they've basically gone off the rails of what the writers of that particular rule book said determined was a middle ground and what was the best suggestion. Depends really what you want. If you want a like uber powerful, like you want your players PCs to be starting off badass because either because the game is going to be very hardcore and you want them to stand a chance, or you just want a power game, go for more XP. Maybe increase what they're available of getting for equipment starting wise. But if you're a sadistic son of a bitch, reduce half the XP,
They
reduce their
have like hard. Yeah. Um,
handling.
that's like yeah, D&D. I've seen a lot of campaigns start at like level 3 or level 5 because those are like your. I think like level 3, that's when you get your subclass now, and level 5's like
Yeah, because
extra
level
attack
3 is
for
when
most people,
you.
right?
Yeah, because most players want to be able to do things because they don't like feeling like they struggling.
They like to
While as
be able to
GM,
be good.
while as the GM in my only war game, I've been actively telling my players, I am definitely trying to kill you. I am going to kill you.
Yeah, normally normally I test them with some stuff and I slowly start ramping it up little by little, and then it's like
Well,
it
that's the advantage of only war.
yeah, it's like I want to get them to a point where it's like you will die because you did not play to each other. Like you did not act as a team. It's like in XCOM. Like you end up losing your high value guys that you've leveled up because you did something stupid, you misclicked, you put them out of cover. You don't lose them if you just sit there and play it safe and stuff. But
Oh yeah, like in my only war game last week, and I decided to have my players play as a different squad than they normally play as, which was facing like a native orc slash we just got mechanized war pigs kind of deal going on, and they only survived and took no losses because of lucky dice rolls. Except for that, if it wasn't for the dice rolls going a certain way, they would have been wiped out. But
yeah,
because they weren't playing fully to their strengths, but they were still trying to.
yeah, I want to try to avoid their life hinging on the luck of the dice. Like I'd much rather it be it's like, oh, you made a mistake, you got lucky and you're okay, as opposed to like because
Well,
it's a
enjoyed it
mhm.
because it felt like they were like mostly their normal gameplay is really roleplay intensive, and they've been wanting to, and they've been fighting things that are less, overwhelming. So I was like, you know what? Let's just have a secondary one-off of another squad within your regiment who's most likely going to die. Wow, you guys survived war pigs and orcs on riding war pigs. Congrats.
Well, it's men riding dragons, throwing wolves at maggots. That's a, is that
Well, like,
scary?
like
Was a
I
scary
had
movie?
like NPCs, right? Like
Hmm.
NPC part of the regiment. I had the orcs slaughter the NPCs to showcase these orcs are out to kill. They're not going. They're not holding back.
Oh yeah,
And
that's yeah, because that's one thing we've touched on before in the podcast is that it's like I completely hate and it's like as a player everyone hates it. Like you can't one shot players like whether they're a dumbass doing something stupid or
yeah,
if
but
it's a
you have.
sniper.
It's good to have that NPC who,
Yeah.
generic insert, who's right in the way, who goes, knocks the PC and goes, I got you, sir. Who then, like, oh,
Every
sir, I'm Timmy. I'm
everybody
going to
needs
take a
a
shot.
yeah, everybody needs a Carmine from like Gears of War. Just gets shot in the face. It's like,
And
oh,
then, you know what?
bullets kill people.
The PCs then go, oh, shit. Maybe these war picks are kind of dangerous. Let's, wow.
Yeah, but but
Insert random enemy.
it's like some of the stuff. It's like you would think it'd be like yeah, like it's like obviously it's dangerous. Like when you have a Carnifex roll up and the librarian's just like, nah,
I got
I'm
this.
gonna charge him, and it's like, all right, man. I mean, like, he's
And then he dies, and then he's like, "That's not right. That's not fair." You charge the Carnifex, bro. You
well,
charge the Carnifex
and that's like, it's like that's why it's like
that I clearly
stuff will.
described as being surrounded by hordes of Hermagons.
Oh, I threw just a Carnifex at him. I didn't even
Wow,
throw.
you were nice. You're nice. That was
Yeah,
nice.
and it
You
was.
were a gentle GM.
I mean, he's beautiful on the librarian. He rolled up. He did his attack. He did the force weapon thing with the willpower and scorched its soul. And he did 56 wounds. He hurt the thing. He
Mm,
definitely did. But the thing
ouch.
has like base 120 or 150 wounds.
Tyranids.
Yeah.
Guaranteed to survive the first strike.
Yeah, so it's like he did that and then it hit him like 3 times. He went down, but they have that rule for the Space Marines. Which to be honest, I need to find it again cuz it's like you play the RPG so long and
You, you,
you get old as shit. Or in a Stable Gun was saying he's 33, so he's basically dead already. So I'm sure in his case or my case you start getting to a point with the RPG rules where you're not sure if you read it in the book or if somebody told you or if it was a homebrew you used years
yeah, I'm
ago.
there. Yeah, I'm there. I'm like, I'm not really sure if this is a homebrew or not. And then you get some young buck who's just like,
But
well,
that's not in the book.
actually, it's no. Well, like, actually, that's not in the book.
Yeah,
Really?
and one of them is the fact that Space Marines will become unconscious at whatever negative,
Like,
whatever they
those,
get hit with, they will take every critical damage effect that is not death, and then they will be unconscious.
Well,
I
you know what the sad thing is
I
for
don't
the
know if that's a
tabletop?
rule.
I I'm not sure either.
I gotta
But you know what the
do
sad
more
thing is?
research. What's that?
For me, me and my friends, we were basically playing with the Primaris rules um, for our Space Marines when I was a teenager.
What do you mean? What
Yeah,
are you doing?
the extra wound. Remember?
Wait, how
Yeah,
many extra wounds?
like I think they're at 2 now or something, aren't they?
Oh, wait. So how did you do that for the RPG? Did you just double the
No,
wounds?
that was for the tabletop for back in the day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's how it should have been.
It should
you
have
got
always been.
you got 2 hearts. You should have 2 wounds. That's how it should be.
Yeah. Let's. Rawr.
Yeah,
Um.
but yeah, it's yeah. The X starting out sometimes. Yeah, I feel like yeah, I'm with you. I'm like sometimes it's dependent on what you want to do. I feel like yeah, the narrative or the what kind of
Yeah.
campaign you're running is gonna dictate
The
it.
rules should be a flat line, and then as a GM, you kind of go, "What do I want? Do I want do I want what is that game? Damn, I can't think of it. Dark Souls. Do I want Dark Souls,
Do I want to kick them in the balls for 4 hours a week? Hmm.
or do I want to play Super Mario Smash Brothers?
There you go. Yeah. Do I want it to be goofy or do I want to be a dominatrix? That's the question. That's the question and answer every time.
Well, everyone, that just questions Gordo's sexuality. There, he called himself a dominatrix.
That's right. I also self-identify as an Apache helicopter. And if you're ever playing in my campaigns, the safe word is bubblegum. But
Bubblegum,
yeah,
bubblegum,
that's
bubblegum.
just proceeds to kill player. Um. So yeah, the
Oh
next
my!
one is so yeah we talked we talked before the podcast
I
about
think it's the quirky character builds, or that's the next topic.
oh yeah
I think.
either one, but I want to touch on theater of the mind because
Oh
I'm
yeah, definitely.
genuinely
That
curious of
one's going
this
to take
one.
up a lot.
Is
To be honestly, I'm a lazy GM. I don't make a lot of maps, or I make a map or I just grab something off the internet that kind of gives an idea,
okay.
and then from there I describe because I have an idea of what I want. Like I got scribbled map of what I kind of want to do on a piece of paper in front of me,
Yeah,
but on Roll20, all they have is some image of a city or something or a terrain, you know, and some tokens that are thrown around. And I kind of have like, okay, he's like in a tree, or you're not in a tree. And I kind of have to, I basically build the world by describing it myself
yeah,
to the players. Um, having like a really detailed, well made map takes a lot of time and effort, and it's easier to kind of scribble down what you want on a like on a what is that paper that has like graph paper, like
oh
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah. There's graph pads or whatever you want to
yeah,
call them. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
easier to kind of like
Building your
draw.
dungeons that way. That's how it used to be.
Oh yeah, it was the only way to do it.
I mean,
um
yeah, it's yeah, I mean, definitely when I was playing in person, like I was with you. I wouldn't really have to. I mean, you'd sketch something quick if somebody was confused. It's like, what building's he in? And I'll be like, all right, draw something on the paper real quick or on a napkin. He read
yeah,
it.
and give them a visual representation, and they'll be like, oh, okay, I got you now.
Yeah, and it's like, oh well, how far is he? And you're like, 30 meters. It's like something like that. And it's like,
Or how far away is he's in short range, but how far away is he's in short range? Okay, like
he's
don't worry about
15
the
feet.
exact meters.
Well, it's like now it's like with Roll 20, with everybody being online, it's like I feel like you have to a certain extent, or
Oh
you're gonna
God, no.
lose some people.
That's fine.
Yeah, I
No.
mean,
I don't have the time to spend about 3 hours, which doesn't sound like a lot, but 3 consecutive hours. Who can find that amount of time? When you have the idea of the map you want to build. Like
yeah, yeah, like
like
normally, yeah, I find myself almost working backwards, like for characters, for locations, for NPCs. I will find pictures first and then work from there. So
Oh yeah.
it's like
For
okay, I want a desert themed the only war campaign I'm doing now is on a desert planet. So it's like okay, I want a desert one. Like what's the theme I'm looking for? It's like okay, I want a Marrakesh kind of Middle Eastern vibe. So it's like I'll go and find pictures of people and character art on like Pinterest or Reddit or all those different sources, and then it'll be like okay, I have this picture. I can now describe the individual with or without the picture. Like I don't even need to post the picture. I have a description and I
oh
can
yeah, I do
just
the same thing too.
name and
Um,
stuff. Yeah. Well, I'll do the same
like
thing with the battle maps too. It's like I will have the desire to fight somewhere, bar, alleyway, and then I build it and
well, that's how it really should be.
yeah.
Because like on my Only War game, the planet is based on a actual planet that's in the books,
Mhm.
but that's been kind of modified. It's a jungle planet, muddy mud ball that is got really good amounts of promethium and oil. Basically, the Imperium is playing America.
Yeah. And I mean it's one of those things cuz like it's like roll 20 it definitely made it more convenient um with,
Which is a good thing.
oh yeah, it's like, the battle maps and stuff like that. And it's like you don't have to be super fancy. It's like to be honest, it's like roll 20's basic grid map that's just white. If you just sat on there and then drew a little,
But the issue
sketch,
though
nobody
with
would
Roll
care.
20 is that like because you know how like some of the like in 40K games, like you have the ranges going into the hundreds of meters, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like the long last 150-meter range. How many games do you know where the map usually goes past 50 meters?
So I am on that. I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's the same thing happens in D&D. How often are you more than 40 feet away from somebody? Um,
Yeah, and like God help you if like if you make a enemy that's better at long range, you have to make a massive map that's so big that it's impossible to really see anything without zooming into one part and zooming into the next part.
so my workaround for that, because I've successfully done it 2 or 3 times, and I did it recently twice in this Only War campaign. What I did to have a sniper versus sniper kind of situation is so in my roll 20 game, I it's a meter for each square.
Yeah,
Because I feel like that's just easier. Some people do two, some people do,
I've
their own
kind of
things.
gone back in between 1 and 2 because technically 2 is melee. 1 to 2 is melee range, right?
I thought it
And
was only I thought 1 meter is melee range because you can point
well,
blank up to I think like 2 meters.
I thought it was 3.
It might be. I'll have to. I see. You always got to
See,
double check stuff, but
like even among GMs, like wait a minute, is it 2 or is it 3? I'm
it
not sure. Are you sure? No.
mayhaps the
Or maybe it's just a homebrew that I've been doing for years, and
who knows? But yeah, I'll have to double check it again. But they're
players are
the
like on the while they're watching the vid, like, "Oh my god, it's 2 meters. Corn's a scrub. He doesn't know what he's talking about."
yeah, will be put to the stake, I'm sure. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Are you new here?
what I did was it was a landing pad where they were coming off Valkyries and they were getting shot at from basically like an apartment building that was
Hmm. Hmm.
600 meters away. So what I did is I built the landing pad and then I had 10 meters of just pure black space. It's just black. And then I put the balcony for the apartment in that black space. And I said, that's 600 meters away. So they didn't have to measure it or anything like that. It's like I was like, from the edge of that map to that balcony, it's 600 meters. So the whole entire map that I was using on Roll 20 was only like a 20 by 30. Like it wasn't large at
Hmm.
all. So it's like little things like that. You can kind of mess with it. Uh
Oh, that's
it,
actually a good idea because
yeah,
I've
it
tried to
worked
like
out.
do snippets. I had my guys try to do trench warfare, right, where they to hold off orc wave. I
Oh.
found that if the wave starts too far away, by the time the wave even gets like I started a wave only 75, about 70 meters away from them. Right, that's 1 meter a square. I had to do multiple waves just for the orcs just to finally reach the trenches, just like in real life. But the
Well,
problem is that combat moves so slow.
well, I mean, you got to think about it. Even like so, like with the 40K like ranges and stuff. Now, in real life, with realism, guns can shoot exceptionally far distance effectively.
What basically what 40K considers extreme range is considered about on the by most modern weapons to be the average
Yeah,
point.
because most active duty guys I know can easily tag people at 400 to 600 meters.
Yeah,
But so even considering that, you got to think
but most
who is
combat
going to be
happens
able to
in
cross almost 100 meters
without getting hit.
alive? Yeah, in open ground alive. It's like you got to break it up with cover because cover is crazy in like the RPGs. Like I'm pretty sure like
Problem is
rocks
a
give
lot.
like a plus 20 or something to AP.
Oh God, yes, like proper Rock Creek trenches give so much goddamn fucking AP. It's not funny that it's almost impossible to kill anybody who's in a trench in the RPGs.
Yeah, so it's like if you're gonna do those classic like charging at the trenches stuff, it's like you got to break it up with cover, or something has to be able to suppress the players, so they have to keep their head down. Like it's
And
like
then
you
when you start
yeah.
suppressing them, which I did, I had Luda boys with def guns on them and and heavy def guns,
Hmm.
and they were suppressing them, and the players were like, "God damn it!" And they would kill one. Next spawn, next wave, two more would show up. They just and the problem is that they start in those kind of games, waves, ammo actually starts mattering because when you're playing an only war game as a player, how often are you usually worried about your ammo in a single battle? A single fight.
It's the same thing in D&D. It's like most combats last under 10 rounds. That's just normally how it is. But some it because it's like when you're talking about prolonged engagements, like my group is fighting a Bane Blade right now, and we're going on the second session. So I mean, when it's like the longer combat gets, the more time you're gonna have to spend there. Like the actual real life time to combat time is just exceptionally insane. It's like everybody doing their rounds and their combat. The bigger the combats get, the longer it's gonna be. And who wants to be fighting a combat for 3 or 4 weeks in a row? It gets a little monotonous almost.
Yeah, and then the players are like, "Man, we're ready. We're done for combat. We're ready. We're done with it."
Yeah,
And then after you're done with that combat, they're like, "Oof, oh my god!" And then you're kind of like, "Well, combat's over with. Role play. Come on,
yeah,
role play that conversation of that massive fight you just had with insert enemy."
yeah. Which is that's why I've been pretty good about keeping it. I think when it comes to RP and combat, I think it should be 50-50. But I think some people get the misconception that that means it has to be one session of RP, then one session of combat, then
No,
one
you can have
session.
RP.
Yeah.
You can role play in the middle of a combat scenario. You can role play while
Uh,
actually fighting.
oh
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
like
I don't
come
count
on, like
yeah,
people
like
like I look at my players and go, you do understand you can speak while you on your turn.
oh
And
yeah, like
like
I don't count the squad interactions or them talking to NPCs and stuff as like like when I'm talking about like equal role play in combat, I do mean like sessions, like
mhm.
almost hours in. So it's like if I have a combat, like I'll have a combat that's 2 or 3 sessions. I'll have probably 2 sessions of RP after that. That'll be them doing downtime, spending XP, trying to get new equipment, talking to like because they report to an inquisitor, so it's like after missions and like big combats, they normally end up talking to 12 or 14 different NPCs and giving their perspective on what happened on the planet, and then like
That's
getting
actually kind
prepped
of a
for the
good
next
idea.
mission. Yeah, it's
I actually like that because like most players, they have their player perspective and then the GM one, but but to have them actually have a way to express what happened in character, I actually like that a lot.
Yeah, I've with how do the NPCs and how I do the gameplay, because it's like almost like if you ever had played Mass Effect 2, it's like they
Hmm.
come back. There's stuff you can do around the ship. There's people you can talk to, and then you can gear up for the next mission. And so it's like you almost have this safety place. It's like, yeah, sometimes the ship gets attacked, sometimes it's fine. There's stuff that'll mix it up, but it's like you have all this extra stuff to do. I mean, I've had players because my campaigns are all one storyline, because I
Hmm.
got tired of not
Trying to
finishing
create a new one.
campaigns. Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep these NPCs. I'm gonna keep these player characters, and I have
Oh,
player
that brings
characters
up a
that
good
became
question for you.
NPCs. What's that?
That brings up a good the NPC that's always hated. Do you have fun as a GM playing the NPC that's hated by the players? That
So,
you designed to be hated, that you wanted to be hated?
like, are you talking about a bad guy or just a specific
No,
guy that's annoying?
okay, in my BattleTech, I ran a BattleTech, only war game, a Time of War
Uh huh.
about earlier this year. I had this guy. He was kind of like this criminal pimp, and he went by the name of Brutus. And he would go like, "Come on, Brutus. Brutus, I didn't want to hurt you. Well, I wasn't going to hurt you. I didn't plan to steal your money, baby. Don't hurt me." He would talk like that, right?
Okay.
All my players hated him, but they loved him at the same time because he was annoying and frustrating and screwing them over. But he was over the top, hilariously bad evil. You know,
I
like
got you.
it was fun to play him.
Yeah,
Like,
I've had some guys that have been annoying and stuff like that, but they always I always do something to get them to where the players are they understand it. Like I've played a psyker who's really old and crotchety, and he's very loud, and he's like he's just an annoying guy. But his psyker level's like dangerous, and he always does stuff in a certain way that makes sense. So like there was one particular moment where they thought he was going to screw stuff up, and he was actually talking to this person and getting a lot of useful information out of them by sounding naive. And one of the players who was a space marine caught on to it, and he goes, "Oh." And then one of the other players is like trying to stop him. He's like, "Psyker, can you please?" And the space marine holds up his hand. He goes, "No, let him talk." And then that's it. So it's like it's one of those things. It's like you can annoy the players, you can be a thorn in the side, but it's like I feel like at the end of the day, in real life, people have a purpose, and when you have like these moments where it's like, oh, we work for an inquisitor and we're super, everyone's a veteran upon veteran and we're all handpicked. You can't have a dumbass be there for the sake of a dumbass. Like he's got to be good at something. There's got to be a reason
oh
he's
god, yeah,
there.
definitely. Everyone, yeah, especially for an inquisitorial team, like you can have quirks. That's kind of like everyone thinks the quirks just are the stereotypes. The
Mhm.
problem is the quirks. It's like a psyker. They still got to be useful. Just because they may be a gibbering idiot who, you know, makes you psychically poop your pants every time that he, wants a giggle.
Yeah, because it's like it's one of those things. It's like if an inquisitor is important enough to have Deathwatch Space Marines working with him, he wouldn't have something useless. And it's like it's like why would he have an old psyker who can't walk really that fast? Like he can move like 2 meters around, and he's not a great psyker. It's just one of those things. It's like he doesn't hold on to him for tax benefits or something. Like he's not getting Social Security. But it's yeah, with as a GM, having too many campaigns just come to a close because of people couldn't make it, or just
Yeah,
all those problems that we've talked before. It's having one continuous campaign where it's the player characters can then become NPCs, or there's an NPC who has a past now. I have NPCs in campaigns that are 10 years old. I have characters that I made that, there's a Death Watch captain. I got a Space Marine myself to rank 5 in Death Watch. That's an accomplishment in my eyes. That's hard to fucking get to rank 5.
How the hell did you get to rank 5?
It took like 6 years. We played and we did it by the book. Like, you're talking, we were getting awarded like the most XP I ever got from a single game in that campaign was 30 points. Like, there was,
Oof.
yeah, that was it. So
You
it's
really
like,
were playing by the book game.
yeah, the GM was like, because he was like, let's play this, and I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
So it's like, that character made it in, and we have a bunch of other NPCs and player characters that come and go that were you know great, and at the same time you can also talk to the NPCs because it's like they have background that I didn't necessarily have to make up on my own. Like, it happened in
Oh
other
god, that
campaigns.
as a GM, that having NPCs with already made in backgrounds that have come from experiences in the past makes your life a lot easier because then you don't have to go on the fly, kind of go, so why does he have a scar on his left eye going down, and then that then cuts right? Oh, that's because while he was in the middle of a fight with the Carnifex, a Tau,
He
insert
got hit with a
Tau.
boomerang. It's just
Got hit with
a
a boomerang.
tamarang. It just came out of nowhere from a crisis suit.
It just happened, man.
It's like that
And those
Blade
were-
one from Mad Max. He's good. The little chipmunk kid would throw it in the old Mad Max movie.
But like, you
Yeah.
can't make up those things on the fly. Like a hardened a PC that has a like 3 of his fingers missing. Like, you don't think of those. As a GM, when you're on the fly, you don't think of such details.
Yeah,
But when you
because
got
you can write 2 or 3 pages about a backstory and stuff, but when it comes to because the amount of times I've had players literally wander around the ship or a base, and I had 3 particular players I will never forget that would constantly walk around and grab an NPC, and they're a space marine, so they'd grab a guardsman and they'd be like, "What's your name? What's your rank? What's," and just drill me, and I'd have to make it up. And
and you're like, oh no, don't do that to me, please don't.
yeah, and either you get good or you get laughed at, because that's what they would want. They'd want me to stammer, and then they make fun of me, and it's like,
The problem is, I feel I like the idea of going around and learning as a player's going around learning the universe and what's happening around in the game's universe.
yeah.
But I don't know if that's true. But you said like they were going out to actually make you kind of
Oh, they were being
fun of
dicks.
you.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they weren't
That
seeking knowledge. They were.
That leads into the GM is the enemy mentality, and I fucking hate that. Like,
Well, it was one of those things where in combat and RP, these guys were brilliant, but they were one of those people where, to
they
be
get their shits and
honest,
giggles.
no, they didn't. It was funny too because 2 of them were devastators, and then one of them was a tactical marine who played like a devastator. So
I
like,
can see that now. Devastators.
yeah,
This role playing.
they loved RP.
Good day, Imperial Guardsman. Please tell me all your information about your life story. Imperial Guardsman. What?
He would just everything. They would drill him, and it was funny because it's just they didn't like the downtime. They built their characters out the
For
gate
combat.
where they didn't. No, not even for combat, because like some of them picked up lore, but they felt because they were using like heavy bolters, they didn't need any more XP. They really didn't care. And these are people. I mean, one of them, this guy Rick, great guy. He had 5,000 XP. He only spent 1,000 on his character, and he was like, "I don't really need anything." I'm like, "You could get like Mighty Shot or something." He's like, "I shoot." This was before the errata. He's like, "I shoot 10 rounds. I don't. Nothing's gonna. What do I care?" And I'm like,
I have a high ballistic.
"I'm
The
like,
chance
you
of them-
could boost your agility and dodge better." And he goes, "Eh." I'm tough enough. I'm like, I'm
Like,
like, all right, bless you, dude. All
we're
right.
like, wait a minute. A group of players that don't want to basically buff their PCs nonstop?
That's basically what it was, and it's like
Wow.
eventually it. But that's the thing is that like once you threw, it was funny because it's like he was like the Terminator. He was like a T-800 or something. You know, it's like, okay, I'm gonna throw this at you, and it's like he ran into like Tyranids, and then he was like, oh, and he would spend 1500 XP to get stuff to help him fight Tyranids. So it's like he was the most adaptable piece of shit that I've ever seen because he needed like 1500 XP. Boom. All right, I can deal with that now, and it was just funny.
Yeah,
Um,
because it's people like in my Black Crusade game, the play by post. My Marine, Chaos Space Marine, he's the most adaptable of all the PCs in the game.
yeah,
He's a coordinate, but he has a fellowship in the 60s.
really.
Yeah,
Oh,
because he is instead of the whole berserker thing, like he believes that the best way to maximize the flow of blood is to make war into a machine, you know,
the
a
the
non-stop.
flesh is weak, my friend.
Well, not a machine as like mechanic. It's more like a grinding, never-ending war. Like
Oh, gotcha.
it's- instead of running into the middle of the enemy and killing as many as you can until you die, train and recruit millions of cultists to fight like Imperial Guardsmen to make the blood flow forever.
Make the meat grinder. That's what's up.
Yeah, make the meat grinder out of meat.
That's right. Yeah, it's like I always try to promote GMs to do that kind of stuff. Have almost like how they did the Marvel. It's like you got individual
Yeah,
movies, but they had their a whole thing going on in the background. It's like I'm like as a
yeah,
GM, it'll in the long run it makes your life easier. You'll feel more
yeah.
accomplished. Yeah, it's a
Like
lot
my
better.
Dark Heresy second editions with homebrews upon homebrews is in the same universe as the Only War game. They're just dealing with bigger macro stuff, while the Only War guys are like, we're just killing orcs. That's all we fucking know.
Oh yeah, I'm
That's
I'm
all
at
we know.
the I'm at the point now where campaigns have begun to affect each other. So like the recent campaign, I mean the one prior, everyone's dead. They unfortunately failed. And I mean
Oof.
that's just how it was. I mean they actually failed.
Well,
So
that's Only War.
yeah, so
Failure is part of life.
the Inquisitor literally only had some NPCs left and stuff like that. So he's reacting to, the threat that wiped out his previous team. But it's funny cuz like I I s- I have an Inquisitor who's a Space Marine, who's the main Inquisitor. He's an Inquisitor Octavian, and
A
they
Space Marine Inquisitor. Well,
y-
people.
yeah, the way he was introduced is I'm like, you see a man who's a head taller than the tallest Space Marine among you, and they're like, is he a Primaris? And I'm like, my campaign takes place. This one is the latest in the timeline, but it's 10 years prior to the fall of Cadia. So
Yeah.
I'm like, not a
I don't.
Primaris, just a big boy raised on corn, I guess. But
I the thing is,
they
I will never play or run a game that's set in the Primaris, in the end times.
some people like it. Some people are running Deathwatch Primarises, but it just depends. I mean, I might end up doing it and seeing where it goes.
Maybe 5, 10 years when GW finally actually starts building proper lore for the end times. You know,
Well, I thought the end times was for fantasy. Are they calling the 40k shit end times too?
I don't know. That's what I call it because the current
It
because
all happened around the same time. It's all the same.
to be honestly, the fantasy shit they fucked it up. They fucked up fantasy. So
I heard, yeah, I haven't delved into it. I heard it was pretty much like a full reset.
yep, and it sucks.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, I mean, yeah, even in my campaigns, I don't want to accept the fall of Cadia yet, but I know I have to
Because
have
where
it
is
happen.
Cadia? Always in our hearts,
Yeah,
gentlemen.
that's right. I just, it's one of those things. I'm like, Katie is the. I mean, the Imperial Guard's the Imperial Guard. It's not the Astra, whatever the hell you want
Look,
to call it.
Astra Militarum. I think they should call it the Astra Militarum, right, as the official name. But everyone should go in the lore. Should go, yeah, we're called the Astra Militarum, but we're still the Imperial Guard. You know,
No, but it's always the
like
guard.
this is our official name on paperwork, but no, we are the Imperial Guard. And then raise a big finger. You know,
Yeah,
that's how the lore should be. It should be the Deptus Mechanicus or the Deptus Administratum calls us the Astra Militarum, which is a fucking retarded name. And the GW only did it because they can copyright Astra Militarum. That's
yeah.
the only reason why
Because
GW did it.
I mean, I can understand it with I mean, because you have Adeptus Astartes, like I understand it, but is this
I get it
it's
from a
whatever.
legal aspect. Need to, look, we went right back. We've done the full 360, going right back to bashing GW.
Yeah, that's how it is. Well,
Like,
so, well, let me. So I was gonna touch on it, the
mhm,
Inquisitor a bit
mhm.
more because it's one of those things because he's been in. It's funny. I have NPCs that are as old as some characters I've played, and it's like, I mean, I've been upset before when I've had some NPCs die.
Oh
I
man,
haven't reached the point where I've cried. I made one girl cry, which I kind of felt bad about if I didn't feel so good about it because I made her give a shit about a person that doesn't exist so much that when he died, she cried. I was like,
that's
she wasn't
that's
bawling or
the
anything, but she had tears, and I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
You've done your job as
I
a
was like,
GM. You
I was like, yeah,
you've
it's good.
done your fucking job as a GM if you can make someone cry or feel sad over a non-existent person.
Yeah, and I looked her dead in the eyes and I said I'd do it again, and she and she cried more. No, I'm just, Then I ripped her character sheet up. No, I was
Well, now we've gone beyond
that's
disbelief.
horrible. But yeah, I mean it's
You
definitely a
monster!
moment when you get to a point where people are actively like angry or upset with actions that the enemy are doing and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, with the Inquisitor, with all this world building and stuff, I have the players in this current campaign now to the point where when they're talking and stuff, they'll talk to the NPCs and stuff.
Like they're actual people.
Yeah, and not only that, they'll ask me my opinion like I'm a player, and they'll be like, so what do you think they can do, or yada yada. And I'm like, to be honest, I don't really know what the enemy could be thinking in this moment. There's a couple of different options they have, and they're like, all right, yeah. And it's like, I'm a fucking dude who makes what the enemy do. I it's like I know exactly what they're gonna do. But the fact that they're like, yeah, that makes sense, and they're listening to my opinion, like, and I had one of them call me out on it one time where
Mhm.
he was like, so what are they gonna do? And I'm like, to be honest, I have no idea. And he's like, but you're the one who makes the world. And I'm like, yeah, your point. I was like,
Okay. Yeah, there is times where, like, you know what? You're like, I don't know really what these guys are going to do. I don't know.
yeah, when you
Hmm.
when you have the
And then you just
players thinking that you're on their team, and like when they completely forget you're the GM, like you're talking to me like I'm playing it with you, my guy. Like, it's
that's
like,
actually that's the best. Actually, I enjoy that.
yeah,
You know,
you're at peak right there, man. You're it's like they're full in it, and it's
and
like,
they forget that you're the enemy.
yeah, and it's like I'm most proud about the Inquisitor because it's with very little action you establish this guy as a very dependable, a very, like, he's not like a douche. He does stuff right. So he's a very just and good leader,
He's
but
kind of like
he's
what a player would want to be as an inquisitor.
yeah, it's like he's something that the players want to aspire to be, but he established himself as someone to not fuck with. And it's like, dude, you can't plan that kind of stuff. It's like it just kind of happens sometimes perfectly. And they were talking to me about him, and they were like trying to just kind of get some more meta knowledge of him. They just were genuinely curious, and I'm like, it's like, okay, well, he's been in multiple campaigns, so I have stories, and it's like they're like, wondering like, oh, does he have a character sheet? And I'm like, yeah, he has a character sheet. he's been attacked. It's like once I had more than one player try to fight him, I was like, he has to have a character sheet. So he's been built, and they were like, oh, people have tried to fight him, and I was like, yeah, three players fought him, and I was like, only one player lasted more than 2 rounds. And they were like, what was that? I was like, there's a Space Wolf guy who made mistakes and got another player killed on a mission, and Inquisitor Octavian confronted him, and Octavian was in his war gear because he was doing his own mission at the time. So when he got back, he confronted the Space Wolf, and the Space Wolf challenged him, and called Octavian a coward. So this Space Wolf ran a power axe and a power sword, and he lasted 5 rounds. And Inquisitor Octavian, got a critical strike and cut his arm off. And then to drive the point home, he was like, "You disrespected me, and you got one of your brothers killed. I'm going to remove your eye," and used his hand to forcibly remove his left eye.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, just to drive the point home. So it's like, and it was funny as hell because I was like, and then I told them what the Tech Marine did, because the Tech Marine player at the time, he watches this whole thing, and everyone else in the room's like, borderline horrified because their commanding officer basically just ripped out this Space Marine's eye, and the Tech Marine just like asked for the eye and then proceeded to like try to poke inside the Space Wolf's eye hole and was like, "We can make you stronger and better. We will adapt you." He's like, "The flesh is weak, brother, but I will make you strong." it's it's like moments like that. It's like it's just great, and it's like people can be established as like horrifyingly scary because they've done stuff like that, and it's like it's one of those things though. It's like you can't even blame the Inquisitor, like put the Inquisitor in the wrong, because it's like you got a Space Marine who's in the Death Watch. He's a veteran. He should know better. But because of his arrogance, he got another player killed. And then he challenged the Inquisitor because the Inquisitor basically told him he sucked and was like, "You're wrong for doing this." And the Inquisitor was like, he's like, "I'm going to challenge you because I don't like what you're saying, Inquisitor." It's like, but it's one of those moments. It's like, that's totally RP for what a Space Wolf would do. You know, he would definitely take it as aggression and challenge and stuff like that. So it's like, if it's RP, man, it's RP, and I let it happen. But as long as people aren't like actively trying to be dicks for no reason, like if it fits, it fits. Like, do you have player combat like that happen when it's RP driven?
I had an enemy that all my players hated and would hunt it down because of the horrible things that he had done. It was a Skaven
Oh,
that
yeah.
that the PCs had let escape, and they started regretting it because I started giving them hints and tidbits of what the Skaven was doing. And the Skaven did some horrible things, like kidnapping children and women and stuff like that. It was on a murder serial rapist, serial thing going on.
Oh lordy.
Yeah, and it was a obviously a Warhammer Fantasy game, and the PCs spent over a full 1 year in game trying to hunt this Skaven down in the city. It took them forever to find it.
Good lord, man. Yeah, that's
It
rough.
was
That's like
yeah
hunting Jack the Ripper level shit.
worse because by the time they found where the Skaven was, it was using this hulk of a ship that was in the middle of the bay, and they hadn't inspected it before and never checked it again. And by the time they go down into the very bottom level, there's about 300 dead bodies between
Ugh.
fully eaten away and decayed.
Oh yeah,
And
because like
it's got
Skaven are
it's
like
got
rat
one
people, so they'll just eat
yeah,
everything. Everything's eating humans in all of
and
GW
like and
stuff.
it's got like and the funny thing is he's got like he had like this little freezer thing going on in one room.
Oh,
Like
lord.
he had like human meat sacks in a freezer, and another one they were like decomposing and being used as food for the Skaven's little pet.
Ugh. Yeah, some of the stuff can get
Yeah,
crazy. I
it,
mean,
it
shoot. So even I mean, you're talking like even some of the Dark Eldar and like Slanesh stuff. It's like even if you don't like, you don't even have to play that stuff up, and some of it's like just wrong. It's
well, I
just
kind of played it up because like I wanted them to realize that you guys have fucked up because like one of the PCs players
mhm.
like adopted a bunch of children and the Skaven had kidnapped some of those kids.
Yeah. See, that never works out well when PCs want to start having like families and stuff like that. Like in especially in like D&D
Oh,
and
it is
stuff.
fun. Have families. You know what? That's just
Ju-
targets for the GM.
It's just more murder.
Yeah,
But
that gives you. Oh, you want a reason to be on this adventure? How about that family you got? You see that ogre over there? You see that human skull? That was your wife
oh lord. I
or your
I
kid.
I had one player who was I don't know if you want to call him an edge lord or not, but he would always make a character that had a wife that he was looking for every single time. Every campaign, whether it was mine or another friend's or something like that, he was always making a character that was looking for his wife, and I'm like, why is this like? Why why are you always looking for your wife? Like, why do you always have to look for one? And he's like, man, it's just a backstory that I like and stuff. And I'm like, okay, like, is she like in trouble? And he's like one time she was just like missing, just like left, and that was it. Like it wasn't ever like always like a whole thing where like a bad guy like came in and like kidnapped her. Sometimes it was just like yeah, she just like went to a family member's and got lost on the way. Like sometimes it was just weird. I'm like,
Yeah, like my D&D game that I'm in, we're level 21.
oh,
Uh,
jeez,
yes, we're home. We're home. We've homebrewed to level 30, and
just
my
why?
character.
Just why?
Uh, well, the game because we were fighting the destruction of the entire universe of D&D. We're fighting to prevent that.
Oh, okay.
We need god powers, man. And my character hated lizardmen. He was actually my. I was a dragonborn, and I was racist to lizardmen, and I did not know that one of the other PCs was a lizardman. And I kept to the my character hates lizardmen and shat on the lizardman character all the time. The other player was like, "What the fuck are you always doing this?" I'm like, "He hates lizardmen. His sister was eaten by a lizardman in front of him. He hates them." And
Yeah, that's pretty decent character motivation for that though.
but by around level 15, 16, when we go to help the lizardman save his people, um my character kills the lizard, finds out that he kills the lizardman that ate his sister. One of the other PCs brought his sister back to life, and then he apologizes to the PC that's a lizard, and the animosity was too late was too late to be removed because the player did not like me because of all the role play.
Yeah.
But you know what? I kind of look at it and go, hey, if you can't role play on,
At home saying like, if you say stuff, just be like, hey man, I don't have any issue with you. Like that's what I would do sometimes. But I mean, it is what it is. Yeah, we've touched on that before on the podcast about what how to handle it getting too personal and how to deal with it. And it's gonna be a base to base, like it's gonna be dependent on the person because yeah, some people go over the top and are actively aggressive because of certain things, and some people take it in stride and they don't care and they're able to flip it on and off. It's like I'm angry because I'm this character, but I'm not angry because I'm this. But yeah, it's it's what it is. Sometimes the RP gets personal, and as a GM, you should
oh
know when to
yeah, it
step
does.
in. Yeah.
I've had RP where it's been personal, and I felt like it was actually personal towards me, and I'm like, damn, that kind of hurts a bit. You know,
Oh
like
yeah. Yeah, it happens.
that's the human nature.
Oh yeah, that's the nature of the beast. But So we're about 20 minutes over. We've had our fun. We've had our laughs.
Oh,
I think I'm gonna drive it
well,
to a close today.
I hope everyone's enjoyed a little conversation with me.
I'm sure they've tolerated us. I
Mm.
don't know. Maybe they had fun. I hope that's always the goal. But
Give us our shekels, motherfuckers.
shekels. Shoot, I'm not. I you know I don't even have donate stuff set up. It's one of them things. This is
Oh,
for me.
we'll be
That's for to the emperor.
flakes. We'll take cornflakes, motherfuckers.
Just non-sugar, bland cornflakes.
Yep.
But all right. But yeah, we're getting closer to the holidays. Yeah, I got another podcast on the 4th, and then the 11th, and then the 18th. Christmas is on a Friday this year, and
Oh man, really?
so is the New Year. So when we get towards the end of December, there's going to be 2 weeks of no podcast and no Saturday game, because I'm not going to run my Saturday game the day after Christmas or the day after New Year's, because I don't want to. I want to enjoy my holidays and stuff too. So there's going to be 2 weeks of silence there. But yeah, it is what it is. It's the holidays. But Corn, thanks for being on. I'm sure
Yeah, definitely.
everybody I'm sure everybody had fun and stuff, and I'd be happy to have you on again. I'm always messaging people trying to get them back on. So
It's just I run a game every other Friday. As long as it is, and as long as it's
oh yeah,
not that same Friday, I'm perfectly fine to do it.
I'm playing them pretty far out. I got a couple guys coming back on the 11th to do. We're gonna we got some questions that we're gonna get to, but I think primarily we're gonna try to use that one the intro and basically do a review on Wrath and Glory, because I haven't stepped and tried it yet, because I don't know, I love fantasy
No.
flight games, but a lot of people talk shit about Wrath and Glory, and I haven't tried it myself yet, so I've been trying not to talk crap about it. So I'm gonna let uh Ven, who's been on the podcast before, he's uh he's gonna either do a review with us and walk us through it, or he said he's gonna maybe we'll get a few GMs together and maybe get about four of us together to do an intro game for a couple hours, one podcast. So we're
Oh
gonna
God,
fit.
a podcast game.
Yeah, yeah.
That's about 4 or 5 hour long game right there.
Oh no, we're probably only going to do like 1 or 2 hours. We're not sitting there to do a campaign, just dipping our toes in. So we'll go through character building and then maybe some combat and stuff. So you could fill 2 hours with that pretty easy.
You can fill 2 hours just with character building.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because it's just us gonna try it out and give our honest review on the stuff. We're not gonna sit there and run a whole campaign. I mean, unless we just straight up enjoy it and love it, then maybe we'll figure something out. But Corn, it's great having you. I'm sure everybody had a
Yeah, definitely.
blast. And I'm Gordo. Hopefully my co-host Lucis, the commissar, comes back soon. He's dealing with just his wife being
Real
pregnant.
life.
It's real life. I got an 8-month-old at home, so if she got sick or something like that, you wouldn't see me either. It happens. But thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll catch you next time. Corn, say bye. Say bye.
Bye.
There you go. You guys have a good one.